Hey everybody, welcome to the Pensky file. I'm Pensky, and this video is going to be a review of the game Titanfall. Titanfall is a 2014 first-person shooter developed by Respawn Entertainment and published by Electronic Arts exclusively for Microsoft Windows, Xbox 360, and Xbox One. The footage shown during this video is the PC version with all graphical settings on high. There is an ultra setting, but unfortunately that demands a bit too much of my PC. Maybe after all that sweet internet YouTube money starts rolling in, I can finally buy one of the computers they use at NASA, and at that point I'll revise the video accordingly. Titanfall is an online-only first-person shooter. There's a quote-unquote campaign mode, but in all practicality it operates exactly like the multiplayer mode. The only difference is that a predetermined number of levels serve as the backdrop to the story, rather than random matchmaking. The story, if one can call it that, is presented to you through the course of various multiplayer matches. A brief scene, usually involving someone yelling at you before you jump out of a spaceship and into battle, is shown at the beginning of each level, and then during gameplay the story comes through as a series of comm channel updates. A talking head appears in the upper right hand corner of the screen to tell you something of dire importance, and then you quickly forget about whatever was said and continue battling on. While people have complained about the lack of a true campaign mode in what is being retailed as a $60 game, I find the Titanfall campaign to be just what I need in a first-person shooter. I almost always find first-person shooter stories to be a combination of nonsense and gobbledygook. While I think video game stories are enormously overrated in general, first-person shooter stories are dramatically affected by how little I care about anything that's happening in terms of story. I suppose that I appreciate Titanfall's politely tongue-in-cheek attempt at shoehorning a story into what is purely a multiplayer experience. The meat of the game is, of course, the multiplayer. 2 teams of 6 battle each other in various desolate and post-industrial maps, each side aided by additional non-player controlled units. Grunts and Spectres, as these NPCs are called, serve to make the battle seem larger than a 6v6 experience, but they also serve as fodder for experience point. Grunts and Spectres are technically armed and dangerous and are sometimes able to kill player-controlled units, but they mostly just march out onto the map, take a knee, and then take very poor shots until they're killed. The experience points they provide when killed, however, is vital, and I'll discuss that shortly. The gameplay of Titanfall is split into 2 distinct experiences. The first is when the player is controlling human pilots, which are nimble, quick-footed soldiers armed with a variety of weapons. Most game modes start with your team's pilots leaping into battle and trying to hunt down the enemy pilots who spawn on the other side of the map. Pilots are quick, fleet-footed, and small. Beyond the usual array of weapons, which include pistols, sniper rifles, shotguns, and carbines, each pilot is equipped with a jetpack. The jetpack functions as a double jump, which gives the pilots a very high degree of mobility and an opportunity to get anywhere on the map. Rooftops are the playgrounds of pilots, a safe haven from the dangerous and crowded streets of most levels. In addition to the jetpack's double jump function, pilots are also skilled in the art of parkour. If you're not sure what that term means, you must have missed the parkour craze that happened on the internet a few years ago. So basically just think about wall running in the Prince of Persia video game series and you're on the right track. Combining parkour with the jetpack's double jump grants the pilots an unmatched ability to cover a lot of ground, much like your mother. Playing as a pilot in Titanfall is a pretty stereotypical first-person shooter experience. The additions of the jetpack and wall running add a notion of freedom and occasionally impart some grace to people jump-kicking other people in the face, but the experience is largely similar to first-person shooters of the recent past. While weapons function as expected, perhaps the addition of the smart pistol is the biggest change. The most drastic weapon evolution in the game, the smart pistol is a natural reaction to the newfound Grunt and Spectre horde. Get close enough to a group and your smart pistol locks onto all enemies. A single pull of the trigger and you dispatch a number of enemies in one fell swoop, efficient and powerful. However, as enjoyable as the pilots can be, there's a reason the game has the title that it does, and that game's namesake comes from the second gameplay experience. Titans. Titans are giant mechs that skilled pilots can wear like an oversized suit of armor. Remember how I mentioned experience you gain from killing enemies? That experience ties directly into how quickly you'll be able to summon Titan, which will crash down from the heavens like a big metal asteroid with a gigantic machine gun attached to it. Though the Titans are more powerful and able to take larger amounts of damage than pilots, they are more limited in their movement and their sheer size tends to draw the attention of enemies more quickly. It's pretty nice to own the only Ferrari in the neighborhood, but eventually someone else will notice and decide that they want to key it. Titans, like pilots, have their own set of customizable abilities and weapons. Before each match, you're able to customize your pilot in Titan. You'll find that if you don't spend this time customizing and clicking through the various menus, you're going to spend a lot of time waiting. Titans are more prone to getting stuck in places that they can't escape, and they cannot wall run or jump, but what they lack in coordination, they more than make up for in sheer destruction. A primary weapon, such as the chain gun, is supplemented by a secondary weapon, such as a missile, which slowly recharges after each use. A third customizable ability serves various purposes, from creating a shield which absorbs enemy gunfire and then fires it back at the enemy, to creating a force field that operates like a one-way mirror. You can fire at them, but they can't fire at you. If anything, you must admit that Titanfall has created a vast array of shielding options for you and your loved ones. Unfortunately, even the best Titan will eventually crumble under enemy Titan fire or attacks from pilots wielding special anti-Titan weapons. A warning appears on screen, and your pilot has a few moments to do a bit more damage before ejecting from his doomed Titan and flying through the air, hopefully to land somewhere safe and continue the fight. An unlucky few will serve as unwilling clay pigeons for enemy pilots. I think that the beauty of Titanfall can be found in how wonderfully the game balances Titan and pilot gameplay. Previous mech games never really interested me because the feeling of being in a mech was one of simply being a slow-moving human who had a rocket launcher for an arm. You never felt like you were inside a giant war machine. Titanfall fixes all this by augmenting the Titan gameplay with that of the pilot. A nimble fighter to which the player can relate gets a few chances each match to hop into a giant robot and kick some ass. The experience of moving from one character to another allows you to really feel the difference in playstyles and to treat each section of the game differently. Pilot tactics do not work for Titans, and vice versa. While Titans can easily crush pilots, the pilot mobility is a huge advantage over the gigantic Titans, so neither side feels imbalanced in relation to the other. They simply feel like two sides of the same blood-drenched coin. I haven't been this enthralled with a first-person shooter since Halo 2. I never really got into Call of Duty, I think mostly because I like my shooters to be a little bit out there and I don't enjoy realistic shooters all that much. Titanfall, however, has created my ideal first-person shooter, a game that's quick to play, unique, and a hell of a lot of fun. It's arcadey enough to not be overwhelming to the casual first-person shooter fan, and I'm sure that advanced fans, of which a group that I am not a part of, will find enough meat on the bone to keep coming back. There's just something about giant mechs that really seems to hit the G-spot of male gamers. There's probably a Freudian or pseudo-religious connection to be found here, and someone could write or say something interesting about that. I, however, won't be doing that. Instead, I'm going to kill some grunts, look to the sky, and giggle as an enormous killer robot crashes onto an enemy who's trying to kill me with a smart pistol. Pilot, prepare for Titanfall.